I'd like to share a very simple tip that helped take my reverb sounds to another level, and it really couldn't be simpler. Whilst this technique is not the whole solution, it will definitely get your reverb in the ballpark faster and make it more usable. It may even make those stock reverbs in your DAW more usable than you ever imagined. Alright, what is this technique? In 2 words, unity gain. What does that mean exactly? Picture this. You've dabbled a bit and used a few presets, and you've kind of found what you like. It isn't perfect, but it will get the job done. You slap that on an auxiliary track, tuck it in to where you feel you can only just hear the reverb, and then back it off a touch. If you're a bit more experienced, then you're probably going to want to tailor that preset to your needs or forego the use of a preset as a starting point altogether and just tweak. You maybe then add some shaping EQ, roll off the highs and the lows, mix in a bit of compression, distortion, pitch shifting, etc. But what is wrong with this picture? I mean, these are perfectly acceptable practices and I'm not knocking any of them, but I would suggest that maybe we have been looking at it the wrong way the whole time. What exactly are we looking for from this reverb unit? In most cases, we're looking to blend it with the dry signal as well as we can. I think in the picture that I painted earlier, it's not starting from a point of strength, it's actually starting from a point of weakness. I could be wrong here, but I think this is a common mistake we make, in that we just tuck it underneath. Then in that example, we go on to tweak and bury all the sounds of the reverb that we don't like and add processing to that which we only thought was just bearable to listen to in the first place. Not exactly ideal. What I suggest, and what I've found to be somewhat of a revelation, is to get the reverb up front from the beginning. In other words, set the send effect level to be at unity with the dry signal, so it can't hide there in the background. Yes, we want to add depth to an instrument, but obviously too much sounds like a train wreck. I get that. This is more like a worst case scenario. Just think for a moment, what if you had to live with the reverb at that volume level with the dry signal? Would that force you to choose a different preset? Would you rather choose a different reverb plugin altogether? I set this idea as a challenge to myself once to really get to the bottom of why it was that I was making a creative choice to select a specific reverb sound. If it sounds god-awful when it's loud, why then would I torture myself by trying to then blend that back in with the dry signal? It makes no sense. When there are so many reverb plugins and types of reverbs to choose from, I wanted to know what was the best reverb to choose for that instrument, for that song, and I always felt like I was missing out on some magical preset that I was never going to find and had to just resolve to use something, make a decision and get on with it. To a certain extent, this is still true, but instead of taking blind stabs in the dark, we make informed decisions with most of the information presented to us up front. Engineers have long used Yamaha NS10s to craft the mid-range, not because they're a great sounding speaker, but because you work harder to get that mid-range sounding better on them. And as a result, the mid-range translates much better on the NS10s to other sound systems. By listening to the reverb at an equal level to the dry signal, it means that we are starting off with the best possible reverb sound we can find from the outset. And this provides us with several positive flow-on effects as a result. In some cases, we are less likely to overprocess with EQ and effects. We get more range of fader movement, as we aren't looking to hide the reverb as much. And the reverb is far more transparent and blends perfectly with the dry signal. Obviously, cheaper sounding reverbs you might have to work and perhaps overprocess to get the results you're after compared to the more expensive plugins, but certainly less processing than if you were to just settle for a reverb that you selected and wanted to bury in the mix from the outset. Now I make all my additional processing decisions when listening to the reverb at full volume, and it's not until I feel I've worked the sound enough to be more pleasant but not perfect, because it will never sound perfect at that level, that I then pull it all the way down and feed it back in where I think it should sit. And I'm really surprised at how much more of it I want in the mix than if I'd just started with a reverb that was already buried. And I'm sure many would disagree with this approach, but just try it, as I think you might be surprised at how much more useful that reverb becomes, because you actually end up extending the range within which the fader can move. This allows for more room to play because you laid the groundwork, and as a result, it sounds great at various levels against the dry signal. Don't bury the reverb. Get it up front, work that plug-in and processing on the sound until it gets as close to perfect as you can get it. Then turn it down. You won't believe the difference. Until next time, happy mixing. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, or need mixing services, please contact me at yamahadrums2009@hotmail.com, and please subscribe to remain informed of future video releases.